Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks so much for joining me today for your online coffee break. I'm pleased to introduce our special guest, Ben Barnes. Fans of Ben Barnes all over the globe know him as Prince Caspian from the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. Also Billy Russo from The Marvel's The Punisher, Logan from HBO's Westworld, and Neil McCormick, Bono's best friend in Killing Bono. More recently, Ben stars as General Kirigan in Netflix's #1 show, Shadow and Bone. After years of being directed, written for, and edited in movies and television, Ben just released his new EP, Songs for You, lovingly crafted at his piano at home and presented unedited and straight from the heart.
I wish for you to be happy. I wish for you to be free. I wish for you to be fearless. That's wishes 1, 2, and 3. And I won't wish to be yours or for you to be mine. But I wish them all for you every time.
Online coffee break.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Ben, how are you today?
Good, my friend. How are you?
Well, I am fine, but I tell you, I just got done listening to 1111 for like the 11th time. If that makes sense.
Oh, really?
Loving it. Hey, listen, Songs for You, literally just hot off the digital press, I guess. That's your first EP, Ben. How's it feeling?
Do you know what? It feels almost a relief, actually. I think it's just something that I've wanted to do for such a long time. And I was raised on music, in the house, with my dad blasting the Beatles and the Stones and Queen and Stevie Wonder through the house, and sort of rooting around in that vinyl collection age 10, trying to get to the Motown stuff, so wow. I tried very hard to make music in my sort of late teens, and I sort of felt like that dream had sort of slipped through my fingers a little bit. And I love acting so much, and I love storytelling, and I love the last 20 years of work I've been so lucky to do on films and TV shows. But sure. this I had this little itch that I wanted to scratch in terms of making something of my own, entirely from me. It's that sort of intimate and authentic and real. And
it is.
And I think that this is what that is and represents for me. And I think doing it at 40, I'm so much more comfortable in my own skin than I was at 19. And so, sure. It's just become this thing which makes me feel really kind of at peace. When you put out music these days, it's called a release, and it feels like a release.
Well, I tell you, we're so glad you released it, because my gosh, your voice is just incredible. And just even just Songs for You, I mean, just the EP itself, what I love is, from what I hear, is you wanted to release sort of a message of hopefulness, which, we can definitely all use more hopefulness. But tell us more about how Songs for You sort of represents hopefulness for you.
Well, I think, I was raised by a psychotherapist and a psychiatrist, people who've devoted their lives to other people's mental health, and sort of just that sort of emotional language was very available in my household growing up, along with the the blaring Rolling Stones albums, and
very therapeutic, I must add.
Absolutely. And I think just, I think that, particularly during the course of the pandemic, a lot of people have had the time to sit down and think, well, if you take away the jobs and you take away the things to look forward to and the treats and the adventures, what are you sort of left with? And I think a lot of people were sitting there thinking about their identity and how they connect to people and relate to people. And, once the world opens up, what do I want to be more of and do more of? And I sort of had this kind of set of thoughts about how hopefulness is actually something which is a real driving force for me. And it's different from sort of optimism. It really is a sort of like a romantic hopefulness that I have in my life, that I sort of, and I realized I've been drawn to stories about that in my acting career as well, even if I'm the psychotic antagonist. The stories themselves are about hope. And I think, being raised by my mum, you are taught empathy as a second language. So you think about every moment of your life, you think about it from the other person's perspective. And I think all of these songs, certainly this collection of 5 songs, the reason these are the 5 on the EP are because they all do that thing of looking at moments of struggle or despair or catharsis or joy from more than one perspective. So the sort of like the sort of groovier, bouncier, hopeful songs have an element of consider the melancholy in this, and then the sort of more dramatic, soulful, ballady songs have a vein of kind of blind hope running through them as well. And I think that's what I've always tried to do with characters that I've portrayed in shows or in films, which is if this guy is an untrustworthy villain, where does his warmth and vulnerability come from, and vice versa, because I'm interested in things that feel real.
See, I love that too, and you're so right about your songs. They each have I think, a distinct style, but I love how you sort of created your own. You labeled your own genre for this. What do you call it? Old soul pop. And as I'm listening to it, I'm like, that's it.
Old soul pop, yeah. Well, I did want it to be, I think when you're telling stories on television or film, you think about why you're telling them now. What's the point in, especially when you're doing an adaptation of something or a remake, what are we doing with this story that is for 2021? And I think it's the same with music a little bit. You can do covers of stuff, but you don't just want to do it exactly as prescribed, because there's no point in doing a covers standard in the style of Nat King Cole or Sinatra, because he's already done that. So you have to bring something new, and I think I'm so heavily influenced by those bands that I mentioned that my dad played, but also sort of the Ray Charleses and the Donny Hathaways and the Bonnie Raittes and the Michael McDonalds and all of these like incredible sort of like 70s soul artists. That's the stuff that I love listening to more than anything. And so it all teases its way and finds its way into what I'm making, even if that's not really sounds like, because I'm not them.
That is true. You definitely have a style of your own. I want to ask you this. You're a fantastic actor, and I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to see how difficult the transition was. I know you obviously, you were in musical theater as a teen and you wanted to go in music, but I was thinking, you've been an actor, a great actor for your 20 years, and transitioning from that to music. I was thinking about that just from a layperson's perspective. I'm thinking, well, you're an actor, and unless you're improv, pretty much the acting is sort of determined in advance. You have a director, you usually have a supporting cast, but music, truly, your music, it's created from nothing. I mean, a blank slate.
Yeah.
How difficult was that transition for you to go from acting where things are sort of outlined to that?
I think you've just exactly defined why I had to do it. Having been directed and edited and written for 20 years, and loving it, and as you go through those 20 years, you have more and more impact and a bit more say, a seat at the table in terms of what kind of story you're telling, and maybe even down to some of the kind of dialogue that your character might say. And I've loved having a little bit more say as I've gone through, because I love words and I love storytelling and recreating human interactions, and trying to see the world from other people's perspectives. But I think it just boiled down to a time, and distilled down to a time where I wanted to share with the world things from my perspective and in my words, with my chords, even if it takes me 6 times longer than everyone else, because I don't know what the chord is called. But I want the sound to sound like the feeling that I had. And I think the biggest compliments I could have gotten were actually from my few sort of trusted people that I sent the music to before it came out, and just them coming back and saying, this sounds like you are as a person. And I thought, that is everything that I was trying to do, and it doesn't actually even matter if I release it now or not, but obviously I'm going to anyway because we're here. But that was the endeavor, because I think even when I was a teen, I was singing Sinatra tribute concerts and Stevie Wonder soul nights, and through the course of my acting career, I've played sort of train hopping Americana folk street buskers and 80s glam rock stars. But it wasn't my voice. It was me lending my voice to trying to almost an impression. And I sort of always needed for me to know what my sound was and what I would have to say for myself. And I would sort of flash forward to the 80-year-old version of myself and ask, what is the reason to not do this? And there wasn't one. So to not regret it, I had to just get on with it.
See, that right there, I think is a perfect message of hopefulness right there. Because you're right. We all have so many things, just everyone in life, whatever, you have those things that you want to do and you put them off, but why not?
Well, the only things that would have stopped me would be lack of opportunity or fear. And I had the opportunity because you can make it for yourself. So then the only reason you're not doing something is out of fear. Fear of what? Fear of criticism, rejection. I'm not interested in how those people are going to react to it. It's for the people who are dancing in their kitchens to it with this huge smile on their face and sending me that video. Like, one of those is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, I'm glad I turned the video camera on after I was done dancing in the kitchen before to your song.
Please send me the video of you dancing in your kitchen. I will post it. Honestly, there was this video of this girl, this video of this woman dancing in the kitchen to 11/11 the day after it came out. And it made my heart like sit back in the right place where it's supposed to be. And I knew everything was going to be fine from that point on.
Speaking of that, 11/11, I love it. It was your first release off this EP, and 11/11 itself has so many significances depending on your point of view. What was the reason for you? Why did you choose 11/11?
I think I just love songs that are about something overarching but have details. And I think 11/11 is just one of the details of the song that just came out of, something that I learned from someone. It's that sort of that Baader-Meinhof syndrome of when someone tells you about something, you see it everywhere. And I think once someone told me that 11/11 is like this sort of like mirror number, spiritual angel number, like Make-A-Wish time, I don't know how much credence I have in the kind of like otherness side of it, but it certainly looks, I like aesthetic things, and that the mirroring of the ones is certainly very appealing to me. But then it seems to be 11/11 3 times a day. When I look at after you found out about it, and I just sort of took that opportunity to make when I would notice it was that time organically, I would sort of shut my eyes and make a little wish for somebody, at that time. And I just got into the habit of it. And then I think when I was writing the song about, it's about that sacrificial kind of love, that even if the thing that you want for yourself seems unavailable, it doesn't mean you can't still love. And the way that I'd started to make wishes at that kind of time, just as a fun thing, just as a thing that I sort of do. I don't put too much import on it, actually. And I know a lot of people do, but I don't. It just seemed like a nice little detail tie-in.
I think it's a great tie-in to another song. Your second release off the EP was Rise Up. You just released an amazing video for that too. Tell us about the meaning behind Rise Up.
Rise Up started life as a little poem for someone. My dad used to, he does still write poems at Christmas time that sort of go over the celebrate the good things about the year and sort of nod to the struggles and the difficult things. And they're always funny and always moving. And he's just brilliant with words like that. And I started doing that sometimes in people's birthday cards, just maybe just 2 lines that rhyme, or so, just because it's a bit more thoughtful if you have to think about it in that way, or if they're struggling with something. And this was a little poem 4 or 5 lines written for someone who's sort of struggling, sort of trying to say that not only will the sun rise tomorrow, you are the sun, you are the sunshine. Come on, that was the part of what the first verse was. And then eventually I sort of actually thought, this, if some sort of organ music on this, it could feel a little bit hymnal almost. Mm-hmm. And it was something that I wanted to be very simple, but I was really sort of proud of it. And then the musicians on the EP were like, my drummer in Ireland who worked on the Killing Bono film with me 15 years ago, he sort of said, oh man, you gotta let me put some drums on this. Like, you just trust me, just listen. And he put the drums on there, and it sort of started to sound, a little bit more anthemic than hymnal, little bit Beatlesy even, in some ways. And then the strings that went on Rise Up were honestly probably the greatest surprise of this entire process. Just going to the studio and hearing those strings that had been composed. I just looked at Oliver Krauss, who composed them, and said, "Is this my song?" And he was like, "It lends itself exactly to writing this. It didn't take me even very long to do. Like, it was obvious what to do." And that to me was just such a staggering moment. But yeah, that's how it sort of became what it is. I'm actually on in a day or two. I think it's up already on Pandora. I've actually done a little sort of description of where each of the songs came from. So you can sort of listen to the song and then, the intro to the song and then the song, which I think is kind of a cool thing that I just sort of did recently.
Oh, excellent. I love that, because I always love the meaning behind the song. And even the pirate song, I love that. Heave Ho. It's a great song. Awesome. I think of Not the End and An Ordinary Day. So, I mean, just wonderful songs. I encourage all of our audience to go out there, get songs for you right now. I do want to ask you real quick, Ben, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, but huge fan of the Westworld here.
Oh, cool. I've got one of my best friends found me this amazing old school, I think maybe it's a Belgian poster for it, but
oh my gosh.
It normally sits behind me, but I cleaned it up for some of the interviews. But I love that little poster.
That is awesome. I just saw that 1973 Westworld version just earlier this year.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
I was like, wow. So that's what you had to work with.
It's Jurassic Park. It's Jurassic Park, but with robot cowboys.
It's wonderful. And you did a great job in that. And I, of course, want to point out, Shadow and Bone. It looks like season 2 is on the way.
I hope so.
Have you started filming for that?
We're gonna do one. We haven't started yet, but we are. There will be one.
Excellent. Other than those, what's next for you? What's coming up?
I actually just finished shooting a horror anthology series called The Cabinet of Curiosities, which is a Guillermo del Toro anthology series. Each episode, different cast, different stories. But I do one with Crispin Glover that is very creepy. And I said I would never do horror, but it's Guillermo del Toro, so you have to. And I actually had a really fun time on it. So that sounds great. That'll be coming as well.
Excellent. Well, we can't wait. Ben, again, I want to congratulate you for your first EP, Songs for You. Definitely worth the wait. Thanks so much for putting it out. And I would just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Online coffee break.
Well, I really enjoyed my conversation with Ben today, and I'm loving his music, his new EP, Songs for You. Highly encourage you to download that today wherever you get your music. I want to thank Ben for joining me today. I want to thank you for joining us as well. Again, we'd appreciate it if you'd share this episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Again, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. God bless.